dark of the night, whispers of deceit,
Shadows dance on the walls.
secrets they repeat, a shadow figure
with eyes full of light.
hiding truths in the shadows where no one dares to pry. Uncover the truth, let the lies come undone. Peel back the layers until the light is shown. Uncover the truth, let the shadows run. Break free from the chains that find the sun. Uncover the truth in the dead of the night, where secrets lie hidden like a whispered bite. Uncover the truth in the dim of the light, where betrayals take root in the heart of the fight.
Best song.
In the rain-soaked streets. This is Bloodlines and Betrayal.
I think I need that woman singing to me at night.
Yes, she's very soothing. She's very soothing. She could do some ASMR.
Oh.
Let's get that should be your next gig. Let's get some ASMR going. We'll get you on OnlyFans.
Why don't we just make an AI ASMR so we don't have to do?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. AI ASMR, you'll make a fortune. They already do it for porn. You might as well do it. No, they do. They do. You can get porn AI, whatever you want.
Do you really? They really have porn AI?
They do. Yeah. Interactive. Yeah. They have role playing. They got it all. Yeah.
Did it really?
They do. And
is this something you know from experience or just
I have some minor experience here and there. Minor experience, just
they look better than the real thing.
Feeling it out, seeing what it's like.
Do they look better than the real thing?
It can be at times. It depends. It really depends what you're into. What your fantasy is. I mean, it can make all your dreams come true. It's all what you make of it. You tell it what you want, and it gives it to you, and then some. But this is Bloodlines and Betrayal. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully, and with me, Coach Schumann, ShowcasePro.org recruiting app, as he's representing. He has recruiting software coming out that is going to revolutionize the game for everyone. And we are talking about the case of Lance Armstrong, which lasted decades upon decades, cover up upon cover up, deceit upon deceit, if you want to call it that. Truly, he was protected at all levels, because he was a hero to so many, because he overcame so many obstacles. And it all started really in 1996 when he was diagnosed with stage 3 testicular cancer. And the cancer spread to his lymph nodes, lung, brain, abdomen. He was given really they told him a 20 to 50% chance of survival, mainly to give him hope. But when his doctor was asked in a later interview, he said that the chances of him surviving were almost none. So he went to work. He went to Indiana Medical Center, and he got treatment there. He got chemotherapy, a cycle, a cocktail, and he continued to cycle while he was doing this. He was killing himself. I mean, the treatment was killing him, but he was working through it. And you can see him when he's bald riding bikes, and you can see how much weight he lost. You can see the extensive necrosis, and it had to be surgically removed.
What's necrosis? Just
Necrosis is death of tissue. It's a death of tissue. And he had necrosis that was building up due to the chemotherapy treatment. So his final chemo treatment took place at the end of 96. And shockingly, in January of 97, Armstrong appeared at the first training camp of the CODIS team in France, riding 100 kilometers with his new teammates before returning to the United States. He was declared cancer-free in October of 97, and unfortunately, nobody would take him. I believe the company was Cofidis. They announced that his contract would not be extended, and negotiations broke down over a new deal. He could not get anything. And I watched the documentary before this. He tried to get on so many different cycling teams. Nobody would take him. Nobody would take him. So he ended up with the U.S. Postal Team with a salary of $200,000. And by January of 98, he was engaged in serious training for racing. He moved to Europe. Now, what happened was before cancer, he was considered an up-and-coming rider. He competed in 4 Tour de France races. He won 2 stages. And, he was considered to kind of be a middleman. He was dedicated to his teammate, Fabio Castorelli, who ended up crashing and dying during the tour after becoming ill. So Armstrong's cycling comeback really became in 98. He was not happy with his performance. He didn't think he was competing at an elite level, and he abandoned the race. And then he left Europe. He returned to Texas and contemplated retirement. And not long after returning to the U.S., he went into seclusion. Like nobody could get a hold of him. He was in the Boone, North Carolina, in the middle of nowhere, with former Tour de France rider Bob Roll, as well as Chris Carmichael. And he trained in the Appalachian Mountains. So Armstrong held his second charity race for cancer research in Austin, Texas. And it was Greg LeMond, an Irish cycling legend, Sean Kelly.
Is he clear at this point for cancer? From cancer?
Yes, he was cancer free.
Before you go into the other stuff, because how did he defeat cancer? Like, what was the? He
was on a very, very aggressive cocktail of drugs. Okay. I can't pronounce all the names. Biosemin, etoposide, cisplatin, and he had 3, I believe, chemo cycles. He was given a drug to avoid lung toxicity that was associated with one of the medications he was taking. And he credited this with saving his cycling career, because had his lungs received that damage, it would have destroyed him. But it was nearly it was testicular cancer, and the doctor Lawrence Einhorn pioneered the use of cisplanting to treat testicular cancer. And his primary oncologist, was Craig Nichols. And then when I was talking about the necrosis was located in lesions in his brain where they had to be surgically removed. So he went through extensive treatment, but it was very, very vigorous and very aggressive, because in his mind, he wanted to get back to cycling. He wasn't really thinking about cancer killing him and dying. He was thinking, okay, what do I need to do? I'm going to keep riding. I'm going to beat this, and I'm going to win the Tour de France. So once he did all that, he miraculously beats cancer, where he's given literally no hope, and then no team. He signs with the U.S. Postal team. They're the only team, and he drops out of the first race. He starts training in the Appalachian Mountains of New York, of North Carolina. He competed in a cancer fundraiser in Austin, Texas, and he shocked the cycling world during the 1998 Vuelta a España. He finished in the top 5 and the top 10 in another, for the most part, staying with, the top contenders in the mountains en route to finishing 4th overall. His credibility as a threat was confirmed when he finished 4th in both the road race and time trial at the World Championships. And he won the Tour de France in 1999. Basically including all 4 stages. He beat the second place rider by 7 minutes and 37 seconds. However, there were 2 of the top riders who were out. One of them was due to injury. One of them was due to drug allegations. Armstrong, basically they were trying to say Armstrong had not proven himself against the biggest names in the sport. So in 2000, the 2 riders, Ulrich and Pantani, returned to challenge Armstrong, and this began a 6-year rivalry between Ulrich and Armstrong, and ended in victory with Armstrong. He won by 6 minutes and 2 seconds over Ulrich. And he also did this at the second individual time trial at the Summer Olympics in 2000. Armstrong started to dominate. And then again in 2001, top honors, Tour de France. He beat Ulrich again by 6 minutes and 44 seconds. 2002, Ulrich didn't participate due to a suspension. Armstrong won by 7 minutes. And as you know, when you're on a Tour de France team like the U.S. Postal team, you have several riders, and the riders protect you, and they protect the top guy so they can get to first place. So the other funny part, I remember watching this. In 2003, he took first place, and a minute separated the 2 on the final day. The Postal team won on the stage 4 and stage 9. I remember this because Armstrong, he nearly crashed out of the Tour.
I remember that.
And he ran across the grass with his bike because there was a massive pileup. And he ran across the grass, avoided the pileup, got back on his bike, and kept riding. So what he did was absolutely incredible. And then again in 2004, 2005, this guy is winning. Okay. What screwed him was, the guy won several Tour de France's in a row. Now he wants to come back to cycling in 2008, 2009. He announced he would return. And that is what ultimately was his downfall. And he had sponsors galore: Trek, Nike, AMD, Shimano. I mean, all the Oakley, all these people sponsored him. So the doping allegations, he was somewhat protected, and people knew what was going on. People knew what was going on. He was roundly criticized with disagreements with being outspoken about his opponent's doping, because several people had been suspended, which makes him look like a hypocrite, don't you think?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, he's calling people out for doping.
Yeah, and he did.
Yeah, and then the other method that he used, if anyone made a comment about him, if anyone wrote anything about him, he sued him. I don't know if you remember, but he sued several writers, several newspapers for defamation. Anything that was said negatively about him, lawsuit. And he would drain them. That was his form. And what really was interesting, he had ties to controversial, I don't know if you remember this guy, Italian doctor Michel Ferrari. This guy was considered like the king of doping. And you're talking about, I don't know if you're familiar with EPO and HGH and what they were doing. Do you know it was really blood transfusions? They were getting fresh blood transfusions to help their red blood cells and platelets so they could ride faster. And that was the biggest thing. And if you ask his teammates, it was crazy. His teammates basically said that if you were going to be a member of the team, you were expected to dope. You were expected to do this, to use EPO, to use HGH, to get the blood transfusions, which I think is, he put pressure on them. You want to be part of the team. You want the adulation. You want the success. I mean, what would you do?
Yeah,
it's an untenable situation, because you're looking at billions of dollars. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. This guy was a hero. This guy was, you remember the Live Strong bracelets, the gold bracelets that were $1 each that people wore?
They were everywhere.
He was a hero to so many for overcoming cancer. He started the Lance Armstrong Foundation, a nonprofit organization working towards studying cancer and treating people with cancer, especially, pediatric cancer. He did a lot of good. However, the outcome of it came after all this. He was, people knew and people questioned him, and he denied it. He denied it. He denied it. And he described himself as the most tested athlete in the world. However, I don't know if you remember this, 1999, a urine sample showed traces of corticosteroid, which is a it's a cream used for saddle sores, which contain the substance. That is considered an illegal substance, and you would be banned. So they knew, USADA or whoever the testing organization knew of this. So what they did, the team officials conspired with a doctor to falsify a prescription and to cover it up. Armstrong never had the condition. He never had saddle sores. And she claimed, the doctor, O'Reilly, claimed on other occasions she was asked to dispose of used syringes for Armstrongs and to pick up strange parcels for the team. So, as you know, what they would do at the Tour de France is very long. There's different stages. So they would go to a stage, and I believe they would stay in like a trailer. And that is when coaches or doctors would enter, and they would do the blood transfusions, do the EPO, and do, I don't think they used HGH then, but it was EPO was the big one. EPO was the one that allowed you to ride faster, that and the blood transfusions. So that is what ultimately was the issue. But he was what blows me away, if you watch his interviews on ESPN, he did an interview with Oprah. He was free and clear in 2005, 2006. He retired. He was clear, no problems. What happened, he makes his comeback in 2009. And once he did that, he was obviously older, as you know, and it's frustrating that you can't perform like you used to. And that's what he suffered from. Once you come back and you are the best, you won 6 or 7 Tour de France's in a row. What are you gonna do? You're not the same mentally. I mean, how do you think that? How would you feel coming back after being the king of the sport, and now you're just kind of the guy?
Well, that's the problem that Barry Bonds ran into.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Barry Bonds was,
and then they were running into it, and then they wanted to stay at the level they were at.
Barry Bonds was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was already a Hall of Fame player. He goes to the San Francisco Giants. 1998 happens. He witnesses Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, the home run race. McGwire hits 73 home runs. Sosa hits 68, I think. And he feels inadequate. He feels like, I'm a better athlete than them. I'm a better player than them. I know that they're using. How good could I be if I used? How great could I be if I used? And then it comes down to, I mean, you got to look at the financial impact of it. If you have success to the level that Lance Armstrong had the success, if you have the level of success that Barry Bonds had financially, how much money are you going to make? That's where I go back to morality and reality. Is it worth it? If you knew that you could use and get away with it, would you do it?
Well, absolutely. That's what they did, right?
I'm asking you personally. If you used and you knew you could get away with it,
Illegal stuff, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I wouldn't, but
Yeah, I would.
I don't know. I'm not at the highest level. You know what I mean?
If I knew that, the difference from me being good.
The world now has changed so much in the aspect that, like, you used to think that these things would kill you. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
how it
they
was
still
sold.
they still don't know. There still aren't long-term studies out. We've seen professional wrestlers drop dead.
Right.
We
Right.
we
So
we've,
I would
we've
say
seen certain athletes.
excessive long-term use, no doubt.
Absolutely. If you don't cycle on and off and use it
PPO,
properly.
steroids, all of these things, excessive long-term. What we don't know is cycled use, and non-prolonged usage. So maybe, like athletic performance. Like, what are they using for several years on and off?
Yeah. Yep.
Will that
That's how they cycle. Yep.
will that be what cause the problem down the line? But so I think a lot of the medical research has changed on some of that. And there are other methods that you could use too that would get you there. Like we talked about this with like Ben Johnson thing. The
Yeah.
you could take certain levels of human growth hormone and
HGH. Yep.
not raise your get your testosterone level to the max
Right
of
to
what
the level.
USADA
Yeah.
allows, but
And
not
then he
over it.
dropped off. Yes.
Right, but you're
Then
not
he should take
taking
it.
not taking illegal amounts, but the amounts that
Correct.
are like what is USADA's allowed
The limit. There's
testosterone?
some people that have natural high testosterone.
I'm just curious what their
I thought it
natural
was
limits are.
like 800. If I'm not correct, for MMA, I thought it was like 800, but I could be wrong.
For
Um,
therapeutic use. You can use
yeah,
therapeutic use and be approved.
yeah,
Be
exactly.
approved. So
I thought it
you
was
could
800.
use testosterone. It could be 4-1
The ratio, yeah.
ratio. So what does that mean? What is a 4-1 testosterone to epitestosterone?
I thought because like I had low testosterone, and I
Right.
was in the
Well,
200.
that's because you're getting older, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's the same thing with Lance Armstrong when he made his comeback.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yep.
But someone like Ben Johnson, his testosterone was not low. But I
Right.
believe that, like, see, the big issue, especially in MMA used to allow TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. Now they don't allow it, I believe. And that upset a lot of people because, again, like, naturally, your body is producing less testosterone. You can take certain supplements to naturally increase it, but it's not the same as, getting the shot or, using the cream, the gel to rub it in.
Right.
But that's why I say, if you knew the difference between being a good, above average to good athlete, competitor in your sport, if you knew that you could be great to special to maybe even a Hall of Famer and use and get away with it, would you do it? I would.
Well, it has to do with your values. It has to do with what you.
It does.
And what you think the line is. So,
I mean, you look at.
If you asked me when I was younger, I would say I would not. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me as an adult who now knows what I know, I'm not sure would be the answer. Meaning,
well, I'm sure morally,
the whole
you would
thing would be
struggle
like,
with it.
people would be like, "Oh, well, how would you, how do you feel if you realize you won and you were a cheater?" Well, since the whole world is cheating, I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, everyone's doing something. I mean, I know, baseball has gone to great lengths to really clean up the sport, but baseball was at its height in 1998 during the home run race when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were hitting home runs, when they were juiced up.
Right.
People loved it. It's not the same now. I mean, people like it,
Yes.
but you don't have that passion that you saw when it was like that. Even when Barry Bonds flunked one drug test, and that was in 2003.
Well,
and that was never supposed to get out. That was Major League Baseball just doing a random test, telling people, we just want to see where we are with our players. And they saw that they had a problem. And that's when they started testing more. However, the guys that suffered the most, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, never flunked a steroid test. The year that Barry Bonds, set the home run record all time, and I believe he set the single season. I think he did. He never tested positive for steroids. Roger Clemens, it was all because of his trainer, who said he injected.
Right. They were all in
Never
that
tested
clear
positive.
thing, right? The clear thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry Bonds was on the clear and the cream. The same thing as Marion Jones. The same thing as Tim Montgomery. But again, Marion Jones never flunked a drug test. Barry Bonds never flunked a drug test. So what happened to Armstrong was in 2006, one of his former teammates, Frankie Andrew and his wife, Betsy Andrew, during a deposition, Armstrong admitted using performance-enhancing drugs to one of his physicians just after brain surgery in 1996. The Andrews testimony was related to litigation between Armstrong and SCA Promotions, a Dallas-based insurer who balked at paying a $5 million bonus for Armstrong's sixth Tour de France victory due to claims raised. Now, this was major in LA Confidential. LA Confidential was an article, big article, written by several reporters. They were sued. They went to court. They refused to give up their sources. I think they even had to serve jail time because of it. But anyway, the suit was settled out of court, with SCA paying Armstrong $7.5 million to cover the bonus plus his interest in lawyer fees. And this caused a rift between Frankie and Lance Armstrong. Betsy, the wife, her testimony was, she stated, and so the doctor asked him a few questions, not many, and then one of the questions was, have you ever used any performance-enhancing drugs? And Lance said yes. And the doctor asked, what were they? And Lance said growth hormone, cortisone, EPO, steroids, and testosterone. Armstrong then suggested that
performance enhancing.
Yeah, growth hormone is probably the most performance enhancing.
Cortisone is performance enhancing.
No, cortisone is considered a no. It's not a performance enhancer. It's considered a steroid. Cortisone is considered a steroid, but it's not necessarily a performance enhancer. But Armstrong suggested that Betsy may have been confused by possible mention of his post-operative treatment, which did include steroids and EPO. And that was taken to counter the side effects of intensive chemotherapy. The Andreas allegation was not supported by 8 other people present, including Armstrong's doctor, Craig Nichols, or his medical history. And according to another doctor, he had a recorded conversation transcribed, bless you, for NPR, which Armstrong's contacted Oakley. Stephanie McLivin corroborated Betsy's account. However, McLivin contradicted Lemond's allegations and denied under oath that the incident ever occurred. So in 2006, the LA Times published a story on the allegations raised in the SCA case and the depositions given by Frankie and Betsy. So they did an investigation. And in 2009 through 2011, there was a report which pointed to procedural and privacy issues, dismissing some of the test results. The Times article also provided information on testimony that was given by SWAT, the Andreas and instant messaging conversations between Frankie and Jonathan Vaughters regarding blood doping in the Peloton. They signed a statement disavowing comments stating that he had no personal knowledge that any team in the Tour de France, including Armstrong's Discovery team in 2005, engaged in any prohibited conduct whatsoever. He signed the statement affirming that the conversation took place as indicated on the instant messaging logs and submitted to the court. So then, this was the other big thing in 2010, the U.S. Postal teammate, I don't know if you remember Floyd Landis. Floyd Landis was cast out. He was stripped of the 2006 title after a positive drug test. He was one of the first ones to accuse Armstrong of doping in 2002 and 2003. Landis also claimed the Postal team director had bribed Hein Verbigen, who was he was the former president of the Union Cyclist International, the UCI. The UCI was the one that did all the testing to keep quiet about a positive Armstrong test in 2002. Landis admitted there was no documentation supporting his claims. However, in July of 2010, the president of UCI confirmed that Armstrong made 2 donations to the cycling's governing body, $25,000 in 2002, which was used by the juniors anti-doping program. How funny is that? And then $100,000 in 2005 to buy a blood testing machine. So this dude flunked drug tests and then donated money to UCI. But the whole thing was crazy to me is UCI was the testing agency that did all this.
Crazy.
And they were complicit.
Because they all like the glory that came along with it.
Absolutely. And the attention, because if you remember, did anyone give a flying F about the Tour de France?
No.
In the United States, at least?
No.
Not really. Landis also said he witnessed Armstrong receiving multiple blood transfusions, and he actually dispensed testosterone patches to his teammates. And Landis claimed that Armstrong tested positive while winning in 2002. So that to me just is crazy. So then more teammates start coming out. It was 2011. Armstrong's teammate Tyler Hamilton told CBS News he and Armstrong together had taken EPO before and during 1999, 2000, and 2001, the Tour de France. Armstrong's attorney responded that Hamilton was lying. And they also did a 60 Minutes investigation that alleged two other former teammates, and it mentioned Frankie, Andrew, and the other guy who was great on the documentary was Georgie Hinnekapi, had told federal investigators that they witnessed Armstrong taking banned substance, including EPO, or supplied Armstrong, which those substances. Fabiani stated in response, "We have no way of knowing what happened in the grand jury, and so can't comment on any of these anonymously sourced reports." Hamilton further claimed that Armstrong tested positive for EPO during 2001, and it was covered up. And the only reason it kept getting covered up, Armstrong was donating money to UCI to conceal the test results.
That
beyond, to me
that's beyond crazy.
Isn't that corrupt?
Well, you know who else was corrupt? Remember the soccer scandal?
I don't remember.
That? They were taking bribes. These soccer executives? Yeah.
What were they taking?
Bribes.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Sites and stuff like that. And
oh my God, no, I did not know that. Yeah. They were taking bribes for their teams?
Yep.
To win or lose?
To be the host.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. So they also found 4 urine samples that had EPO in them in 2001. And they believed they belonged to Armstrong's, to Lance Armstrong. And they were obviously concealed and hidden. He would get clean urine to produce for the drug tests. So what happened was in February of 2012, U.S. federal prosecutors officially dropped their criminal investigation with no charges.
Yep.
But so many people came out and spoke that Armstrong had routinely doped. And this dismissing the fact that Armstrong did pass numerous drug tests. Hamilton, one of the teammates, said he himself had passed hundreds of drug tests while doping. And again, this is because of UCI, the testing company, covering it up. And they had every reason to cover it up. And then USADA in October of 2012 claimed Armstrong was part of the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program the sport has ever seen, because they did a detailed report based on the evidence it acquired. They said that it was unbelievable how they did it. So this was like one of the excerpts of it. The evidence shows beyond any doubt that the U.S. Postal Service Pro Cycling Team ran the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program the sport has ever seen. The evidence of the U.S. Postal Service Pro Cycling Team run scheme is overwhelming, in excess of 1,000 pages, and includes sworn testimony from 26 people, including 15 riders with knowledge of the U.S. Postal Service team and its participants' doping activities. The evidence also includes direct documentary evidence, including financial payments, emails, scientific data, laboratory test results that further prove the use, possession, and distribution of performance-enhancing drugs by Lance Armstrong and confirm the disappointing truth about the deceptive activities. And the USPS team received tens of millions of American taxpayer dollars in funding. So what happened was he ended up being sued civilly, and he had to pay. I know he had to pay back. And the first start of it, I believe, was in 2005. They said that 6 urine samples taken from a cyclist during the prologue and 5 stages of the 1999 Tour de France, frozen and stored in laboratories, tested positive for EPO.
Wow.
And that was Lance Armstrong. And Lance Armstrong, even then, he fought this tooth and nail. The witch hunt continues. Another article will be out tomorrow. This is tabloid journalism. Fake news. And if had he not come back in 2009, none of this would have happened. So all this goes on. His teammates come out. There's stories. There's the LA Confidential story. There's the 60 Minutes story. There, doctors, whatever. Everyone's coming out and accusing him. Everyone's coming out and telling him. And I don't know if you remember, he was married to, I believe, Shania Twain.
No.
Or dating her?
Sheryl Crow.
Oh, Sheryl Crow. I'm sorry. Were they?
By the way, I saw her in concert once.
Were they actually married?
I don't know. I can't remember, but
I think they have a kid together. Yeah.
She was with Rascal Flatts.
Really? Recently?
Yeah. This is a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
This might be 11 years ago.
Were you taking your shirt off and whipping it around?
At that time? You might have been with him at that time.
Were you taking your shirt off and whipping it around?
No, I think I was just settling down at that point.
So all this happens. He doesn't confess. Do you know what year he ended up confessing in?
No.
If you had to guess.
2020?
2013.
Wow.
It was he came out. He did an interview. I don't know if you remember, but it was with Oprah.
Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah. I remember seeing it. Yeah. It was 2013, huh?
He did, yeah. Well, because he came back in 2009 and he struggled. And, he was pushing himself. He was taking more. And, his goal was to obviously win the tour again. And I don't believe he did. I think he finished 3rd or 4th, but it was just past. He was past his prime. He had been out for 4 years. Anyone being out that long and coming back. So in 2013, he interviews with Oprah on the Oprah Winfrey Network. He finally confessed that he used banned performance-enhancing drugs throughout much of his cycling career, and most recently in 2005. Now, he claimed in 2009 he did not use, he admitted that he used EPO, growth hormone, and diuretics, and that he blood doped, as well as falsifying documents saying that he passed drug tests. Doping helped him for each of his, he won 7 Tour de France's. Doping helped him for each 7 Tour de France wins. And he told Oprah Winfrey, according to USADA, samples taken from Armstrong from 2009 and 2010 are consistent with blood manipulation, including EPO and the use of blood transfusions. He denies this, and he got sued civilly by the U.S. Postal Service for millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And like, he is now a villain. He is now a hated figure. He got kicked out of his own foundation, Lance Armstrong Foundation. And it was, so the main article was LA Confidential. It was in 2004. Reporters Pierre Ballastar, David Walsh, they published a book alleging Armstrong had used performance-enhancing drugs. And he sued him. He sued them. And then, he wanted, I believe, their sources as well. But again, what's amazing to me is, in any other sport, what drug testing agency would protect you, would be involved in trying to, make sure that you're okay, that would allow you to falsify prescription documents, would allow you to submit fake urine, would allow you to falsify drug tests? I mean, would they do that in the NFL? I mean, is there anyone?
I think it's such a small world. They were worried about the backlash.
Yeah, because cycling wasn't, it's not mainstream. It's not hugely popular in the US. And his story was so polarizing because he came back literally from his deathbed. I mean, he came back from his deathbed. He had testicular cancer that spread throughout his body. He went through vicious chemotherapy treatments. He was given nearly zero chance to live. He survives. And all he wants to do is come back and be the best. And it's typical after chemo treatments, they will give you some sort of testosterone or HGH. HGH is the toughest to detect because there is no urine test for it. It can only be detected by blood, and it's very, very difficult. And the blood transfusions, you can't test for those. It's just about, people were bringing these sealed boxes that were like cool, so they could transfuse fresh blood into a system. And that allowed his lungs to absorb more oxygen. And that's why he was successful. So after this article was written, he sued the hell out of him. And then I believe they filed a countersuit for $1.5 million because they initially settled the suit out of court in 2005. Armstrong sued him. That was his weapon. His weapon is, I'm rich. I'm going to sue anyone who says a bad word about me. And then it's just amazing to me, if you look through it, 2005, 2006, I mean, 2003. He's got tests all over the place.
Yeah.
That are positive. And the UCI protects them. They protect the golden goose because he's making money for the sport. He's making the sport more popular. And that's why I just can't believe that, even baseball, with the popularity of Roger Clemens, with the popularity of Barry Bonds, they didn't protect them. They're never getting in the Hall of Fame. I mean, do you think Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds should get in the Hall of Fame?
Barry Bonds, I'm conflicted on. I think both of them are earned Hall of Fame prior to this whole accusation.
I think Roger Clemens 100% should.
Shouldn't Barry Bonds? He was a Hall of Famer already.
I think Barry Bonds should too. I think they played in an era where everyone was juicing. First of all, second of all,
but there was a lot of people that were. The reason why Barry Bonds juiced was because he realized he saw what happened when those guys were hitting home runs, and he was like, "What the heck is going on here?" He's like, and
he was furious.
I've seen him, and listen, nobody's gonna cry for Barry Bonds because he's such a.
No, I believe he's a hitting coach now.
He's a cocky guy, but you know what? Like, Barry Bonds was a phenomenal baseball player prior.
He was the total package. He could steal bases.
He was the best player.
He was a great outfielder. Yeah, he was.
And then he saw this, and he was getting older, much like these other guys. What happens? And he was getting older, and he was like,
the adulation. Yeah.
These guys are cheating, and I'm not cheating. No one's saying anything. He's like, I'm just going to do what they're doing. So
I want to get mine. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
I want to get mine. Yeah.
The crazy part is, I always say this, when the very best, and he was after his prime already, but the very best takes this stuff, what does it look like? It looks like Barry Bonds. He makes the game look stupid because he's so good, because he's already was the best, and now he decides to take performance-enhancing drugs, and the game looks stupid. He just blows records out the window. You know what I mean? It's
all you have to do is look at his physical appearance.
What if Jesse Owens took steroids? Like you already.
No, I know.
Like he already was the best. It was like, it's
he was a Hall of Famer with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, he was phenomenal with that was when Pittsburgh Pirates had Barry Bonilla and him, and they were great. And then Barry Bonilla gets traded to the Mets in the worst deal in history for the Mets, and
they're still paying for him.
Barry Bonilla's the gene was it? I don't know. I'm sure it was his agent, but it's one of the most genius contracts. He basically just said, "You know what? I don't need all the money now. Just pay me forever." Yeah. Basically, no matter what, they're paying him forever. Basically, I mean, that guy was every year that comes around, he gets that check. He must say to himself,
"Everyone talks about it." Yeah,
he must They call it Barry Bonilla Day.
Bobby Bonilla.
They say Barry Bonilla, Bobby Bonilla. Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla. They must say to himself. He must say to himself, "My goodness, this is the greatest thing ever."
Yeah, but I think that Barry Bonds, if you look at his physical appearance from 2002 on, he looks like a different person. If you see his head, if you see his body, I mean, he is massive. And he is just dropping bombs left and right.
Bombs.
But again, how does he go through and not flunk a single test? That's my thing. He doesn't fail a test. That to me is like, And Roger Clemens never had the look of somebody. I know
No,
Andy Pettitte came out and said that he used whatever once or twice. Roger Clemens never looked the part,
right.
and he to this day he's never admitted it. Alex Rodriguez, he's admitted it. Pettitte admitted it. Jason Giambi admitted it. But that's why we're going through, years with one guy getting into the Hall of Fame. I don't think that Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds, you're talking about the greatest home run hitter in the history of the game, not getting into the Hall of Fame. You're talking about the strikeout king, not getting into the Hall of Fame. And I'm more on Clemens' side because his trainer, Brian McNamee, his proof was a syringe that he kept in a beer can that tested positive, that had Clemens' DNA on it, that tested positive for like Winstrol or something. So that's why I mean Lance Armstrong, I think it's sad because he was a hero to so many. He did a lot of good.
Especially what he went through with cancer.
For him to survive what he survived, to come out on the other end, and he did what he had to do to win. He wanted to be the best. He was willing to sacrifice, and he didn't care. And he made money. And once he made money, his weapon of choice was litigation. He was going to sue you into the ground if you went against him. How dare you go against him? But I think he's villainized now. He's hated. He came to a settlement, I believe, with the U.S. Postal Service. He had to pay back millions of dollars, but he's still wealthy. He's got a family. I saw a recent documentary on him. He's got a family. He's got a good life.
With Sheryl Crow or somebody else?
No, he's not with Sheryl Crow anymore, but I think he had a kid with her. I have to check. But if you're looking at the CCNY scandal and the Lance Armstrong scandal, what would you say is worse?
I think Lance Armstrong scandal.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why. They were kids and they didn't have any money.
Oh, I never thought of it like that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're dealing with 20-year-olds.
They were not just kids, but they were also all poor kids from the city.
I didn't realize that.
Pro basketball wasn't big back then, right? So
no, it wasn't.
So those guys, this was a big payday for them.
When they put the figures up to what it was worth today, yes.
Yeah.
And
so you realize
I didn't realize
for a poor kid.
Oh yeah, and
Especially
I didn't realize
they probably didn't have guidance. They probably
no,
as much.
Of course
so
not.
Every man for themselves. It didn't mean they didn't have a good family, but it just meant that they were probably every man for themselves. And the young person, you get caught in situations that.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that especially the Jewish group was really ostracized back then. I had no idea.
Those Jewish kids, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
the Jews back then were treated almost like black people were. Like if you were Jewish, you were considered like an outsider.
They're very poor.
I had no idea it was like that.
That's one of the societal things that people don't realize about most of the Jewish immigrants is that their success is not because they were handed anything.
No, they weren't.
They literally brought themselves up from the bottom.
I was shocked seeing that. Seeing that.
My father was dirt poor growing up, and his parents were way poorer than him.
Yeah,
they did. they did a nice job of coming up. But yeah, I mean, I think in that, yeah, right. So those players, which were, I don't know if all the kids were Jewish and black, but a lot of the players
A
on
lot
that
of
team
them
were
were.
Jewish
Yeah.
and black, I think, right? And
Yeah.
so they were, because the reason why Jewish players were among the better players in the city back then was because they were poor and they lived in the city.
That's all
So
they did was
played
play.
basketball. They played
Yeah.
basketball just like the black kids did. You know what I mean? So so that's why you don't see them as well. Probably height became and athleticism became more and more a factor. Maybe that wasn't going to be the path for a lot of them. But I use the example. There's a lot of kids that play down here in the shore area, New Jersey, that are Sephardic Israeli Jewish kids or of us that descend. That they're part of this community center. We play them and travel, and they're not big, but they're, oh my god, they're like, because basketball is, I guess, a big part of the Israeli culture.
They play hard.
They're unbelievably skilled. Like we beat them last year, but it was literally like big athletes taking on kids that were making passes that I'm like, oh my god, like they were like 9 at the time. These passes that were the passing was unbelievable.
Well,
So,
if you watch that documentary, that coach you mentioned was way ahead of his time with the offense that he ran, with the ball movement.
Motion offense, yeah.
It's almost like the UConn women today, how they spread the ball around and work to get the perfect shot. It wasn't like, you see typically ISOs nowadays where everyone gets out of the way, one person drives and makes a shot.
Right. The art and the people who try to do the art of passing most people don't do it. They just pass because they watched the Hoosiers movie. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Don't shoot before 5 passes. Like.
No, you're right. You're right. That was the rule. Yeah, it was don't shoot before 5 passes. But right. Yeah,
when you're really good at executing it, and that's what your whole, like, people just do it as part of their thing now. But that was that guy's thing, and that was in the Hoosiers movie. That was what made them spectacular. Although I always find it ironic in the Hoosiers movie, all the passing, and he comes in there at the end of the movie and he says, and he wants to he wants to like design a play, and they're going to run the play to use the great player as the decoy, and everybody kind of looks at the great player, and the great player looks at the coach, and he's like, I'll make it. And so like he basically, like, all that planning and all that great passing they do, it would have came down to it was a one-on-one, the best player on somebody else. But that's how it was. Like that guy probably got a lot of that skilled passing stuff probably came from that era. And that guy,
I had no idea. I had no idea, and I had no idea that Jews were ostracized like that back then.
Oh yeah.
No idea it was like that bad. Like it was such a big deal for the Jewish players to be on that CCNY team. And
that was probably one of the only few players, much like the black players, that they could actually play on.
Yeah. And Adolph Rupp wouldn't let any black players or Jews on his team.
Nope.
It's all a bunch of white kids.
Yep.
And that's why they took it to him. But I was going to say
they were so good. That team, I mean, he had a lot of good teams over his career, but that team, that's the sad part about that team. That team really was his best team. That was his
to win the NIT and the NCAA? Absolutely.
Yeah, that was his best team. And so the fact that whole thing happened was probably so devastating to so many people between those two cultures. You know what I mean? Because not not being Adolf Rupp and all those guys, and then not being allowed to play at certain places, and now they were the best. You know what is another great movie? A great movie. Actually, it's a feel good movie, but is on the Texas Western team, which is now called Texas El Paso. Did you ever see that movie?
Is that like with Coach Carter? No.
No, Coach Carter is a different movie. But
no,
yes,
I've never seen it. No.
so that's the first all black starting five in.
I've heard of it. Okay. Yes.
It's called, I can't think of what it's called. Great movie.
I have heard of it. Yes.
A lot of he had to get his players from New York City, I think Chicago. Like he had to go and get players to get them there, and he had to get players that were willing to deal with, the prejudice because they were just down south. So, but yeah, that's a great movie too. Like you see how important it was to their families that, they were able to do that. But it was very that is. I mean, listen, sports really were. I mean, they still are in a lot of communities, but sports really it was an opportunity for people to be uplifted, and it's still an opportunity from that standpoint. But obviously, with it being all about money, it's such a select number of people now that are going to get uplifted. You know what I mean? So versus before when it was like, thousands you could really uplift at a high school. Now you're going to have to go through a lot of attrition and to get there.
Oh, a ton.
Like there's going to be a lot of great players that probably would have thrived under the old system and developed that will not make it under this system.
Julius says that all the time.
Julius, does he?
Yeah. We'll watch certain players, and he'll say, like, if it were 10 years ago, this guy would have 20 offers. But because of the way things are now, he has 2, or he has none, just because of the way it is. He says that all the time because of how everything has changed. But it's just crazy.
It's simple. I make a video every few days for parents I put up really on my Instagram. I might put it on my YouTube sometimes, but it's really more for kind of that Instagram crowd. Where I just talk about some of the lies and the things that are actually going on. Like I want high school players to realize.
They all lie.
I want players to realize that that it's the opportunities are not going to be the same opportunities that you're thinking of.
No.
Like you have to kind of figure out.
Julia said the exact same thing. Because
How much do you love football?
Because he said that he's had kids that get 20 offers. But he said, like, in the fall, when, someone may want to commit, someone may know what's going on, coaches won't call him back. Coaches won't answer. And he's trying to tell kids, he's like, listen, it's a different world now. You don't have months upon months to make a decision. They're going to take somebody else.
You have no leverage. You have very little leverage.
You don't. So if you can make a decision shortly, make it. Take the offer. He always says, a bird in the hand.
Bird in the hand. It always change.
As you say, kids decommit and recommit all the time. We're seeing it right now with UConn. Kids are getting offered by Colorado State that were committed to UConn. Yeah.
I see. Remember what I told you?
You did. Yeah. We had 2 quarterbacks. Well, no, I said that, but we had 2 quarterbacks who were committed, I believe, to UConn, who UConn Store Central announced that were offered by Colorado State. So what I mean, yeah, let's have Maura come back and talk to the team. That's a great idea.
They're not doing that, are they?
They did that yesterday. Yes. Remember we talked about it? Remember when Joe D said fuck you to me?
Did it
When I
actually
said,
happen?
yeah, it did happen. Hanson messaged me.
He called me this morning.
Yeah, he's been wanting to talk to me. I don't know why, but I'm gonna give him a call. He's been wanting to talk to me.
This was a great show, man.
Of course it was. I mean, it's a very polarizing story. The Lance Armstrong story is incredible.
It really is, because the truth is Lance Armstrong was a hero. Really was a hero.
It was beyond sports. Yeah.
It was beyond sports. What he accomplished, he really was a hero.
The Live Strong and the Lance Armstrong Foundation, and then he gets kicked out of his own foundation. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But when you realize the lengths that he went through to have success and to win and have his teammates involved, that to me is unbelievable. Like, if I was going to do it, I wouldn't trust anyone with that information. I wouldn't say, okay, you can join the team, but you're going to be on EPO and you're going to have to dope.
Yeah.
I would do it myself. I would keep it private, but I wouldn't involve my teammates, and I wouldn't, at a doctor's office in front of one of my teammates and his wife, when asked if you use performance enhancing drugs, say yes and rattle them off.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing the extent of the cover up and the people involved in UCI. That's what's mind blowing to me. But that's why I said I don't think there's any other sport that would protect an athlete like he was protected. Like, I don't even think Tom Brady would have been protected. Tom Brady.
No, Tom Brady was a little bit of an enemy of
well, now he is, but I'm saying if he flunked a steroid test, I think he would have been suspended. Like, I don't think they would have covered it up.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But no, it's an incredible story. It's still ongoing. Lance Armstrong went from, one of the greatest heroes of the century to the biggest villainized. He was stripped of all his Tour de France titles, and he lost a lot of money. But what are you going to do? So for another banner, Bloodlines and Betrayal, Coach Human, I'm Steve Cully, best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back